Welcome to the Action Shooting Show Gear Talk. Today I want to talk about something we use a little bit in 3-gun and then a lot in run and gun, and that is slings. Before I start talking about the 3 different styles I will talk about today, I'm going to briefly mention the 1-point sling or the 1-point bungee sling. You'll see a lot. Some people do like those. I don't know that I see a lot of them be used in 3-gun or run and gun, and I don't really think they're a great option. What you'll see is these are the ones that's just kind of a simple loop. It's usually got a bungee in the middle, and it attaches to a single point on your gun. The issue with these in our sport is that they just kind of hang down, and there's nothing securing it in place. If you've got an extra hand that you can kind of hold down on the gun, that's fine. They tend to work all right. But when we're using them in running gun and 3-gun, typically you're doing something else. You're shooting a pistol, you've got a shotgun, you're moving from point A to point B, and then the gun's just kind of flopping around, and they are probably great for different applications than the action shooting sports, but they're not great for what we do. So if you like it, great, use it, but we're not going to discuss those. The first thing I want to talk about is just a simple nylon sling. This one is a Magpul MS1. They're fairly affordable. I think they're $20-$30 at most. Pretty decent nylon, all plastic. Which, if you buy a quality sling from a good company, I've never had any problem with plastic versus metal parts. Some of them have both. Some of them have all metal. Some of them have all plastic. If it's a reputable company like Magpul, it's just not an issue. So you do want something that adjusts the length fairly quickly. And this one has a big pull on it, kind of pull buckle, that you can shorten it up to tighten it and cinch it against your body and loosen it when you want to get it off. I think that's a pretty important feature. There's a lot of different ways that slings can be attached. In this case, I'm just using kind of a doubled up piece of paracord up front, and at the bottom, just looping it through the little Magpul sling loop there. Very simple, very secure, light. Really, this is a solid sling setup. You'll see a lot out there. So this is what you like. This is what you have. This is a good option. This is I would say definitely the more basic option, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with it, and quite a few people prefer just this. You may see, and it's not a bad idea if you can. Sometimes people use tape when they use paracord just to keep the sling kind of oriented directly in the right way. So I don't need to do that on this one, but it's a good option. Next we're going to talk about the kind of a slightly upgraded, I would say, but that doesn't mean that it's better. But that's a padded nylon sling. You can see this has got a real light padding. Can be a little more comfortable. In this case, it's also the Faro Concept Slicksters. What this one is, it's got a pull tab that is a lot easier to adjust your length in and out. So that's kind of nice. But besides for that, it's a fairly similar concept. I've used both of these in a lot of matches, and both of them have worked out great. In this case, instead of paracord, I have a QD sling swivel. These, I think, are an awesome option for 3-gun. And typically 3-gun, you're not using a sling on every match or every stage at most matches. So being able to pull the sling off when you're not needing it and put it back on really quickly between stages is a really nice feature. Then you just don't have all this sling hanging off and potentially getting in the way. Downsides to QD sling swivels, they're mechanical. They could break sometimes, and whenever I put this in there, I'm kind of careful to give it a tug. Sometimes they'll pop out. If something hits that button or gets caught in that button, it could pop out. And if your sling swivel is aluminum, those can wear out over time, or if something pulls hard enough, steel sling swivel and a aluminum socket, that aluminum is going to break. So I've not seen that happen. I have heard of sling cups kind of wearing out, or QD cups wearing out, but I don't think it's a real common problem. But again, it's mechanical. Something like a paracord is pretty rock solid. You're really not going to run into issues with that. So I still, having said that, I run QD sling swivels on quite a few of my guns. In this case, the one nice thing with running gun is every once in a while with gear and backpacks and web gear, I'll get this thing all twisted up on me, and I can just hit that QD and pop it off and take the gun off a little bit easier. So in running gun, I still think there's some options or some good uses for that, but it's not necessary. So again, that's a slingster and QD sockets. That's a very good option as well. Some people don't like that padding. It does add a little bulk and could maybe get in the way. So if you're that type of person, or depending on what gear you're running, the standard just narrow sling, nylon sling is still a solid option. So the last one I'm going to talk about, and this is really a run and gun sling. I don't know that I've ever shot a 3-gun match that I think that this is a really good option, but that's a biathlon sling. Run and guns are centerfire biathlons that we're running instead of skiing, so it would make sense that you would see some of these out there. This is a fairly short rifle, so I'm actually carrying this muzzle up. If you had a longer gun, I would probably recommend muzzle down and have that up here near the buttstock. But that's preference. What side of the gun's facing you is also preference. I think that that just kind of depends on your use case. I really like these for longer races. So if it's 5K or under, I typically run like the slingster because I'm not slinging the gun for quite so long, and I'm actually even real short. If you're just going real short, stage to stage, you can kind of know that's true. I'll even just not sling it at all and just kind of hold it like that. Downsides to this. Obviously, this is a tab gear biathlon sling. This one is definitely more on the bulky side. There's a lot of extra material here. When you're shooting offhand or you're shooting, there's a lot more sling. It'd be easy to get this caught on a prop or something like that. And it adds some weight. So that would be some considerations I think I would have if you're going to run a biathlon sling. I still really like the biathlon sling for a lot of what it does, especially, like I said, for longer races. If I've got a lot more movement between stages, having this and being able to just run is a lot better. If you are in a situation where there's a lot of rough area that you're going through, so Heartbreak, I just used this. Heartbreak running gun has a lot of going through wooded areas where it's just deer paths, animal paths. You're going up and down hills. With this, I feel like I'm real confident. I got 2 hands available. I'm not running into things, so that's a really good option. Depending on which way your muzzle's facing, if it's facing over your head, you could get that caught on trees and stuff like that. Again, if it's real long, you're hanging muzzle down, going over and through things, that may be an issue. So these are all considerations. Again, your body type, the gun size, the gun's weight, the rest of the gear you're wearing. All of this really affects what sling makes sense for you. I have all 3 of these and others because I use all these. I've used all these in matches, and depending on the match and the situation, I will pick one over the other. And I think the important thing is to understand your gear and practice with it. Speaking of practice, I guess the last one I could mention, which is kind of a variation of the 2-point sling, is what a lot of people call a 3-point sling. That is just a 2-point sling with an extra loop in it. And people use those for offhand positional shooting. So have you ever seen where they'll like sling their arm through a loop and they use that to help stabilize the rifle? That's a great technique for some sports. You'll see a lot in like high power. I don't know if I've seen it used much in running gun or 3-gun. I don't know that the size targets that we're shooting really call for that. And the time that it takes to get in it and do that is probably not worth it. If you do use that and you've practiced with it, then obviously that's a good option for you. But if you're kind of going out and buying your first sling and someone's using that as a selling point, I don't know that I would make my decision solely based off that. I mean, this came with the option to buy something like that, and I didn't pay the extra to get it because it's just not something I see being real useful for me. It just adds bulk and excess and something I'm not going to use. So I hope that helps you. If you have questions, feel free to reach out. If you got questions about other kind of gear, reach out. I'm happy to talk about that or have one of the other hosts kind of talk about something. This is just my opinions based off what I've done in the shooting sports, what I've seen worked for me and other people. All three of these slings I would highly recommend. The Vickers sling is really popular. I think that's a great option. There's a ton of other companies that make really good slings. So find a reputable one. Don't just go to Walmart and buy the cheapest one there. It's probably not going to work out well for you in this sport. Find friends that'll let you borrow them. I borrowed one of these at Legion last year from a friend before I bought my own, just to see how I'd like it. And again, if you have any problems or you disagree with me on something I've said here, or would like to add something or any of that, feel free to comment below. I'd love to talk about it and love to help kind of get people aimed towards the right gear. And while I'll mention what I have here, there's 1,000 brands. This is not to sell. I'm not trying to sell any of these particular models, because there are pluses and minuses to every gear, and there are definitely better models out there for maybe what you're doing. So hope this helps. Have a great day, and hope to see you out in the range.